Thank you, everybody. All right, thanks, Mary Ann. As one more reminder, we're still hearing somebody's mic open, and it is causing a little bit of a distraction. It would go out with the webinar audio. Welcome to our CRS2 billing seminar. We have a lot of continuing vendors joining us today, along with some new vendors that are new to CRS contracting. Hopefully, we'll be able to answer many of your questions with this presentation today. Again, if not, we are recording questions, and those that aren't answered during the webinar will be answered and posted online for all to be able to access. Now we're hearing voices from somebody else out there. So please, everybody, please check to make sure that you are muted. This slide basically is showing how you get from an individual walking through the door, receiving services in Access VR, and getting a referral, and then your agency providing services for that individual. The authorization must be in hand before providing any services. That authorization is created in Access VR by the counselor, and a paper form is sent to the vendor. Services are provided by the vendor, and behind the scenes, the authorizations are being picked up in our computer system, and once per month, a VR370 report is generated. Those reports are then mailed to each vendor within the first few days. They're sent from our offices in Albany, and within the first 5 days of the month, and they reach the vendors within like the second week of each month. On those forms, you're going to be recording the services that you've provided during the month and signing and sending to the appropriate district offices. The VR370 reports are reviewed along with any programmatic reports that you've submitted. All services that are approved for payment are entered onto our system. If they're not entered, you're notified by the district office. Nightly, our system scoops up vouchers that have been entered during the day, and they're transmitted to our fiscal management unit for processing. And at least once per month, those vouchers are batched for payment and sent to the Office of the State Comptroller, where payment is issued. This is a sample of the VR370 report. It hasn't changed too much over the years, so many are very familiar with this form. This form allows you to see all of the authorizations that have been written during the open contract period. And record your services. It is important that vendors submit these reports to us by the 15th of the month. If you send in your reports after the deadline, you run the risk of having your reports entered after the close of business at the end of the month. Our district office staff will be working on timely vendors first, and then those that were received late, they will hold till the end. Towards the top of this form, the facility's 6-digit Access VR vendor code and agency name are located, and the local district office where the authorizations were created from. If you serve more than one office, you may see groups of pages for each district office that you serve. And after they're completed, you would send the appropriate pages to each of those respective district offices. Each service row contains the client's name, their ID number, their authorization and line number, the case service code, the start and end dates of that authorization, the units authorized, and the units still remaining on that authorization. We need you to fill in the start and end dates of those services that were provided in that month. Enter the units provided, and if you're done with that authorization, then if there are units remaining that will not be used, please put a check mark to cancel the balance. The last two columns are for district office use. They will be checking to make sure that the electronic report for that service has been received, and then they'll be checking each line that they've approved to be processed. On the report, you'll also see pages with blank rows. That is so that you can fill in services that were provided in an earlier month but were not billed for during that month. You would record the client ID, the 3 characters of the participant's last name, the authorization and line number, the case service code, the start and end date of the services, and the units provided. You don't need to fill in the price. That's automatically entered on our side. Then be sure to sign and date the report. The forms with original signature must be submitted to the local district office. Fax or email are not accepted for this. Again, please mute your mics. Somebody's still out there with their mic open. For all vendors, the reporting deadline is the 15th of the month, and that is noted in attachment D of your contract. For example, the March 2019 VR370 report must be sent to the district offices by April 15th, 2019. Do not send VR370. Okay.
I have no way of knowing who's business they will. They're supposed to be muted.
Yeah, everyone should be muted, but somebody is seriously got their mic open and
link.
Okay, sorry about that to everybody else out there. Please, back to the VR370, please don't send copies of the VR370 to Central Office in Albany. If you have questions regarding your VR370, you should be directing those questions to your local district office VR370 liaison. More information about that will be coming in the presentation. The report displays authorizations for open contract years. This contract group is reconciled annually, and we only allow authorizations to span the open contract year. All billing for the prior year is due by March 31st of the next year. So, for example, services for September 2019 must be billed by the vendor by March 31st. Any late billing is not accepted. When the VR370 report is generated in April, any prior year authorizations are no longer displayed on the report so that it will mitigate any problems with billing for closed out time periods. Access VR also provides a utilization report each month, which is a cumulative report that lists all authorized services you provide to participants during the contract year. It provides detailed information, including the dates of service and units vouchered and or canceled. There'll be a sample on the next slide. We can send this report up to up to 6 vendor-designated recipients. Any recipient updates should be sent to the crs2@niced.gov mailbox. The report form, if you receive that report now as a current CRS vendor, we are updating the report format for 2019. The method of award no longer allocates units for each service, so we no longer need to track the % utilized by each case service code. We're going to monitor it at the larger service groups instead. So we'll add up the totals for the non-support employment services, support employment intensive, and support employment extended for youth, and compare that to your budget totals for each year for those groups. This utilization report does not include any expenditures for group orientation or support employment extended for adults, as those services don't receive authorizations. This is an example of the authorization detail report. You'll notice that it includes your contract number, your Access VR vendor code, your agency name, and then it's grouped by case service code. So for example, this is 127X, work readiness for students. Each person that has an authorization for that open contract period will be displayed here with their name, their case ID, their client ID, their status, the counselor that wrote the authorization, and their district office. It'll also include the authorization number, the line number, the dates that are approved on that authorization, units, rate, and total dollar amount for that authorization. And then you'll see all of the vouchers that have been approved and entered on our system based on the information that you provide on the VR 370 reports. The service date must fall within the approved authorization start and end dates. Outside of those dates, you would be providing a service without an authorization, and that is not allowed for the contract terms. So if you are running out of an authorization, the time frame that you need to work with the participant on that service, please contact your counselor so that that can be updated prior to the end of your authorization. So you'll see the amounts that were vouchered, the service dates, the units that were vouchered, and the total dollar amount. And then the balance of that authorization line will be displayed. If you've asked for the balance to be canceled, you'll see a line that indicates cancellation date and the amount of units that were canceled. After a payment has been issued on that voucher, you will see a check number displayed next to that line. If you don't see a check number, the payment hasn't been issued yet. Currently, there's a summary report and a voucher summary report that is issued with these monthly utilization reports. Because these forms are currently undergoing an update, I didn't want to confuse anybody by showing the old reports, but there are also summary pages that will be issued that don't display consumer-specific information. Just going to check really quick to see if there's any questions to answer. Okay, we're good. Let's move on. No-show and dropout billing. Some of the CRS services allow for no-show or dropout fees. Please refer to Attachment B, which is the budget portion of your contract, which lists which services the no-show dropout fee applies to. It will also be listed for each service in the Core Rehabilitation Services Program Guide, which will be posted online on our website. This should happen with consultation with the counselor that wrote the authorization for the service. If the agreement is between you and the counselor to bill for a no-show or dropout, for hourly rate services, you can bill for 1/2 hour for a no-show on the VR370 and then indicate that the balance of the authorization should be canceled. If it's a dropout, you would bill for the actual hours of service provided and cancel the balance. For those services where this is allowed and it's a non-hourly rate, the authorization should be canceled in full, and the counselor will need to write a new authorization with the primary code or a support, a summary code that Access may use with the D ending for dropout. This authorization will appear on your next VR370 report, and then you would bill against that new authorization. The fee for that, the fee allowed for that already built into the system is $30. Again, when you determine that a no-show or dropout will happen, then the balance of the authorization must be canceled. So this is a one-time thing.
Can you move your speaker a little closer? We're hearing some feedback that it's a little garbled. And you're having
Yeah,
Okay, is this any better? I don't know.
I do have a couple questions here since we
Okay.
stopped. Does the discussion with the counselor happen each no-show or upon authorization?
The discussion with the counselor happens when the participant is a no-show. If you decide to bill for a no-show, then it's also a decision to cancel that authorization for that participant. You may wish to not bill for that no-show and keep that authorization open if there's the possibility that the participant may continue with that service. It's a one-time thing. You can't bill for no-shows over and over again if they don't show up for the service. Okay?
Another question I received is, can program director sign the 370 or must it be signed by the contract signer?
So the question was, who can sign the VR370 report? It can be as high as an executive director, or it could be the designee within the agency, somebody within the agency that has the authority to sign a financial document like that, because it is basically a billing document. So it should be somebody with the authority to sign that type of a document. It does not need to be the person that signed the contract.
And going back a little bit further, another question is there a time frame for when the program guide will be available?
Is there a time frame for when the program guide will be available? I'm looking across the room.
It's going to be available this month.
The guide will go up this month. Basically, it's a rehash of the information that was in the request for applications. It's based off the information that was already there. So if you still have a copy of that, then you have the bulk of the program guide. Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Services to groups. This applies to Entry Services 1, group orientation only. For this service, we need one quarterly claim for payment form with all the sessions held during the quarter. Attached to that, you would give a roster of the attendees attached to the claim. You can download the claim for payment form off of the State Comptroller's website at the link noted here. We prefer this form to the old New York State standard voucher because it is now formatted for our new fiscal system. So a New York State standard voucher is still accepted, but this form is the preferred form because it has the fields needed for our New York State financial system. The claim for payment form is a fill-in form, which may be used for entry services 1, group orientation, and we also use this form for support employment extended services for adults. Both services must be reported on separate claim forms as they go to separate offices. Do not include any participant-specific information on this form. Up top, you'll have the basic header information with the vendor name, your identifying information, your contract. You can include your contract number. The invoice number field, you may put something there for your own use. However, we tend to, we overwrite that information and we have a generic reference invoice that is entered at our fiscal management unit so that it's easily identified in our payment system for the type of service that's on that voucher. In the body of the claim for payment form where it says purchase order, please indicate your contract number, and then in the description, list entry services for the month and year. You should list each month in the quarter, or you could list the entire quarter, but then you would list the number of sessions provided, the rate, and the total dollar amount, I believe should automatically calculate based on the quantity and price that you've entered in the form. If you're using this form for support and employment extended, you would just indicate that and then the quarter that you are billing. For group orientation, you would attach the roster of attendees. For support and employment extended, you would attach the monthly extended services rosters. Then in the vendor certification section, please sign and date this form. Please do not use the other New York State agency or PeopleSoft or legacy format fields for signing. Those are for state education department use as they're processing the voucher. For the group orientation services, the claim for payment form and the roster of participants should be sent to the local district office that requested the service. This may mean that you are sending to multiple offices if you provide that service for several offices. If you only receive requests to do group orientation for one, then you would only have to send in one claim for payment and set of rosters. The claims are due on the 15th of the month following the close of the quarter. They should not be sent in monthly. They should only be sent in once per quarter. The district office will review and forward the approved claims and rosters to fiscal management for payment processing. Support employment extended services. 578X is extended supported employment for adults. At this time, we don't write individual authorizations for this service. We are continuing processing those in a similar manner as we have in the past. As we transition to this new contract, any participants that are under age 25 who would qualify for support employment extended for youth if it happened after the start of the new contract, they will be reported on the support employment extended services rosters and won't receive an individual authorization at this time. We're not going backwards to pick those up. We're moving forward and transitioning new participants to that new service in the new contract term. For the support employment extended services for adults, the claim for payment forms and the extended services rosters, which you'll see next, come here to access fast for processing. The copy with the original signature comes here. You should file a copy of the roster with the local district offices where the participants originated from. As we moved into this new contract term, we've also consolidated the reporting for extended services for adults. In the past, we had two tracking forms, one for Access VR funded extended and one for the OPWD transfers from 2003. We folded that second group into the extended services, the Access VR funded extended, and it's now one combined rate so that everybody can be listed on the same roster. There's no longer a need for two as we move into this new contract term. The form calculates the allowable reimbursement based on participants who receive 2 face-to-face visits per month with both dates recorded on the forms. You'll take the information from this form and transfer it to the claim for payment and send with the roster to Access Fast and Central Office. Here's an example of the monthly support employment extended services form. It's an Excel spreadsheet that you can use repeatedly month after month so that you can fill in the information for the individuals you're serving and change the dates as you go. You'll list your agency name, your contract number, and the month that you're reporting on. You should fill out one of these rosters each month, and then send the 3 monthly rosters with your claim for payment. Please indicate the CAMS ID number that the participant would have had as they transition from support employment intensive to support employment extended. The referring Access VR district office, the full participant name, their primary disability type, the habilitation plan date, and the date that they entered extended services. And then the final 2 columns are to record the dates for each face-to-face contact during the month. The form then should total up the number of participants that had the 2 face-to-face contacts and calculate the total based on that number of the total contact with the 2 contacts times the monthly rate, which is just the annual rate of $26.40 divided by 12. And it'll calculate your total for you. Then please sign and date this form and send the roster with the original signature here to Albany. The address will be further down in this presentation, and file a copy with the local district office. For employment extended services for youth, eligible participants transitioning to extended after January 1st, 2019 will receive an authorization for 582X. This contract now allows us to use federal funds for the support employment extended for youth and to help facilitate the tracking of that. We are now going to start writing authorizations for these individuals. The program reporting and billing for 582X will follow the same procedure as any other authorized participant service. On the VR370, you will bill 1 unit per month for each participant that received 2 face-to-face contacts. The The annual rate of $26.40 has been broken down into 12 monthly units at $220 per monthly unit. So your authorization for 582X should be 12 at $220. A VR 582 form will be required for each participant. This form records the monthly activity with the participant, and it will be filed electronically with other program reports submitted for the month. I'm just going to take a quick check to see if there's any questions.
I have one that goes back to the no-show. It's a no-show question. What if a person is no cancellation, no-show multiple times for, say, 110X? They came 7 out of 10 scheduled dates. Can the agency claim $30 times 3 for 90 total?
That's a conversation with the counselor, but it sounds like it would be the 7 days for the 110X that you would bill, and it would be a dropout. That's what it sounds like, but I'm the financial person, and that's a discussion with the counselor, because once the decision is made to bill for that service, the balance of the authorization is canceled, and the service is ended with that participant.
It goes on for this. What about benefit advisement? There is a higher rate of no cancellation, no show for that service. I'm not sure.
I'm going to hold that one to answer later when we can get more expertise from the program side. Okay.
Another question here is on the extended services report, will the HAB have a plan? Date change each time the plan is updated? I have an HAB.
Yes, so you would use the effective date of the facilitation plan in that report and submit that. So as you update that, you would have to change that date that's reported in the
Okay. Okay. All right. Some vendor resources. Vendors have access to view their payment information through the New York State financial system. There is a special vendor portal where you can go in and see all of the payments issued to your agency, including any for this contract. You can visit the New York State Controller's Office main page. And in here, you will see an area where you can review invoices, purchase orders, and payments. We basically do not use the purchase orders, but you can review the payments made to your agency. You can get information on getting paid electronically through ACH or direct deposit. As part of this contract, all vendors are required to receive their payments electronically. So if you are not currently signed up for it, please go to this website and get yourself signed up so that as the contract rolls out and payments start being issued, there are no delays getting paid for your services. The Controller's Office has started to hold off on issuing payments who were still to vendors who were still signed up to only receive a paper check. As a note, if you're a current vendor and your current contract, you're awaiting a payment and it's not due to any amendments, it could be due to the fact that you were still receiving a paper check and the Controller's Office is looking for you to get paid electronically. We don't have the capability to use the submitting invoices electronically section, but in here you can also receive information on updating your vendor information and access to the vendor portal. It is critical that you keep this information in the state financial system updated. we can modify information in our case management system, but we can't update this information to get you paid in the state financial system. That is a responsibility as a vendor. You will need to keep your information current because we want you to get paid on time just like you want it. All right. The Controller's Office has also created training for vendors to help you understand what it is you're seeing in the vendor portal, how to update your information. They've really stepped up and tried to provide more training for this service that we might not, within our own agency, be able to provide. We have our own roles with the state financial system that preclude us from seeing what you see in the vendor portal. So it's important that you take the time. I would do it now if you're a new vendor. Take the time, go into this training module that they've provided and work through the different courses that they have. They have information on logging into the vendor portal. So I can get it to scroll over. Logging in, setting up password hints, how to use the vendor portal, how to update your information and add additional users, update your location, adding addresses. I know there's some vendors that have multiple addresses listed in their record for payments that go to different places. We don't use the managing order section. We don't, you can setting up electronic payments. You want to do the section on getting paid faster via direct deposit. We don't use the purchase orders, and we don't have invoices submitted electronically due to the nature of our case management system and the process that we have to go through for the payments. There's also a section on reviewing payments. I would definitely go through there, and it helps you look at, helps you to understand what it is you're looking at when you see a payment. There's a see it section, and it'll play a video for you on how to do that. You can try it and print it. They've really given vendors more tools to understand and work within their system. Okay. When you're in that vendor portal and reviewing your payments for CRS services, we have standardized the invoice field to give everyone information on what that payment is for. If you serve 2 clients and you only are billing for 2 people, understanding what you're getting paid for might not be that difficult a task. However, there are some large vendors that may serve hundreds of people, and working your way through that payment detail can be quite a task. So the standardized invoice field helps you to do that, even though it looks kind of crazy with all those numbers and letters there. But once you get used to looking at the characters, you'll quickly be able to decipher what that means. The first 2 numbers are the district office. The next set of 7 numbers are the authorization number, followed by the authorization line number. Then the case service code is shown. The first letter of the participant's first name and the first 3 characters of their last name. The next set of numbers are the Access VR schedule number, which is an internal number, and the date that the district office entered that line of service for payment. for support employment extended for adults, we've standardized it to show the contract number, the time period the payment is for, the quarter number, and the type of service it's for. If it's for support employment extended, it would say SEP, EXT, CRS. If it's for group orientation, it would say ESI for entry services 1, CRS. Here's a list of the 2-digit district office codes. Okay, just a quick check to see if there's any questions.
Going back a little bit, there was a question as to what is the exact age of youth?
The exact age of the youth?
Which service?
That is all.
We were talking about support employment extended for youth, so it's probably
24 and under. For support employment extended.
24 and under for support employment extended services. There's a time limit on the support employment extended for youth, so it's the 48 months, correct? So they can be in 582X for up to 48 months or until they hit 25. Then they could transition to the support employment extended for adults. It would no longer be an authorization. They would be reported on the other roster.
We'll be getting a lot of that detail through the case trainings in January. So vendors who deal with the employment program through SSVR, they should be attending the case trainings in January to learn more about the details of each service.
Okay. And in case you're having trouble hearing Ray, please sign up for the case trainings where they will expand on that information. Okay. All right. If you're having troubles with your VR370 or other areas of the billing process, please don't hesitate to reach out to your VR370 liaison. Right now, we have the 2014-18 contact list up there for each district office contact. This list may be updated. There may be a few changes. Much of it will probably stay the same, but there may be a few changes as we move forward. But that is on our website. When you come to our website, if you scroll down under service providers, there's a vendor section. The core rehabilitation services information is off the first link there. Currently, the website, this link is set up for the contract term that ends December 31st of this year. We will be adding in the information for the new contract term and then pulling the old information off after we finish reconciling the 2018 contract year. But here you will find information with updated rates, the program guide, all of your report forms, how the contracts were awarded, and information such as the questions and answers that happened as a result of the RFA last year. That will be up there. And your VR370 district office liaison is also there. If for some reason you're getting to like the 10th or 11th of the month and you still haven't received your VR370 form in the mail, please contact the CRS2 mailbox and one of the two contacts listed here, Dana LeBeau or Shannon Shealy, so that we can get a copy of that VR370 sent to you by email. We will encrypt the document and send it password protected to you by email, but that's only done in a last resort when you haven't received it after allowing for sufficient mailing time. Yeah, the VR370 reports might not leave Albany until around the 5th of the month, and some of the reports can get to be quite large, so sometimes it may take a week to be received by the agency. The mailing address for our office for extended, where you would send your support employment extended for adult vouchers and rosters is here to NYSED, Access Fast, 89 Washington Avenue, room 560 EBA, Albany, New York, 12234, and our main line is also listed here. Yeah,
we do have a question in the mailbox.
Okay.
Says, how do I find out who from our agency is receiving utilization reports?
Okay, excuse me. To find out who is currently receiving utilization reports for your agency, please send an email identifying which agency you are from, your current contract number, and your old contract number if you have it, so we can quickly look it up for you, and then we can let you know who that is. And please don't hesitate to update those contacts, because we know that a lot of the utilization reports end up being bounced back to us as undeliverable. Often vendors will reach out to the local district office that they work with. That address, that email address change might not filter into the system that we pull from as we're emailing out these reports. So we need to make sure that the proper database is updated for that. We also find that some email systems block our reports. The detail report contains consumer-specific information, including, their names and their identifiers. So we have to encrypt that document before it's sent. So it is sent as a zip file. Many firewalls within agencies block those zip files. And if you're not receiving reports and you know that you're the contact and it's been a while, reach out to our email box and we can let you know to confirm that the report was actually sent. If it was, you may need to work with your own internal IT department to have a hole punched in your firewall to allow our emails to go through. The plan is right now to send the new reports out from the CRS2 mailbox. If you have your system allow email with password-protected files to come through from the CRS at NYSED.gov and the CRS2 at NYSED.gov mailbox, hopefully you will then receive these reports. We strive to send them out monthly. At the moment, these emails are done manually, so the day of the month depends on the workload within the unit, but we strive to get them out at least once per month.
Another question. When submitting backup documentation electronically for intensive services, do we need to use a particular software? What is the specified format you need this information to be submitted in?
Okay, so the format for the electronic reporting is coming up now, so let's we'll just work through that, and hopefully it'll answer those questions. Okay. The electronic reporting has to be done in an encrypted manner because it contains confidential information. Right now, the reports that are created through Word, preferably, or saved as PDFs, we have a system where all of the documents that you create are bundled up in one container. That container is zipped and compressed and encrypted, and then that encrypted container of your documents is sent by email to one specific mailbox, which then can unpack the container and get the information to the correct counselor. This also allows you to receive a confirmation email letting you know if your reports were sent successfully, or if there was a problem with your email, you will receive information back regarding that. Okay. As part of the contract, you agreed to provide reports in a manner that Access specifies. So your technology must be able to create Word documents and zip the files for emailing. You also must keep this information that you have encrypted within your own system. It must be kept confidential within your own systems.
There's a question asking what encryption software is compatible with Access VR?
So right now, to encrypt the files, the package that we give instructions on is WinZip.
WinZip?
Yeah. During the 5 years, the technology requirements are subject to change. If we upgrade our systems, there may be new instructions and new requirements that come along during the contract term. All devices, laptops, flash drives, or any other electronic storage devices that store SED information or data must be encrypted. Okay. So your information, you would have your reports in a folder within your system. Those reports need to get from you to the district office and the counselor. The billing also comes via the VR370. The program reports in the VR370 information is matched up as you send in your VR370 form to the district office, and you send your electronic reports to the centralized email box. Currently, there is a wiki guide set up on our website to help you go through step-by-step the procedures. The procedures on our website right now appear to be outdated, but the steps are pretty much still the same. We'll be looking to update that information. Please note that the email address on that guide is outdated, and we currently use vrcontracts@niced.gov. Drop the mail part out of the email address that you see online. Again, we'll be going back through and updating our website where we need to over the next few weeks. Each individually authorized service delivered during any given month has to have its own separate electronic report. Electronic reports are not required for Entry Services 1, Group Orientation, or the Support Employment Extended for Adults. Also, as we rolled out this contract, some of the reports before did not have their own form. Each service is now going to have its own form. So we are asking that all vendors use our standardized report forms. So that will help us to make sure that everything is handled in a similar manner across the state and across vendors. The report forms are located under the Core Rehabilitation Services section of our website. under the CRS Services Report Form section. As we roll out these new forms, this section will be updated with all of our new forms. As your, I'm sorry.
A question coming in about the reports, asking will all the reports be provided in Word, because some are PDF and those do not allow for all the information typed into them to show.
They are going to be in a fillable Word format. They're also going to be posted as a PDF to the website.
Okay, so fill in Word and PDF. For accessibility reasons, we have to post it in both formats to make sure that it's accessible for all vendors. Okay, so as you're creating your file names for each report, the file naming convention must be standardized so that when it's received in our system, it's unpacked correctly and goes to the right consumer's record and the right counselor. So the format is the authorization number, case service code, 3 characters for the month, 2 characters for the year, 2 digits for the year, and .docx if it's a Word document. We prefer it to come in Word. It could be .pdf if you're setting a PDF document. For example, in this case, the authorization is 210021. Then you put a space for the authorization number, the case service code 931X, then a space, then the 3 characters for the month, a space, 19 for January 19, 2019, and then the .docx. If you don't use this naming convention, you will get an error after you send in your reports. Again, just to reiterate, 7-digit authorization, 4 characters for the case service code, the month, the year, and the document suffix. So, for example, you'll list your authorization, the case service code, again, month and year. One area to highlight when you're sending in your 929X or 935X reports, the same container that you send in those reports must include the RESU file for the resume. That's a deliverable with your final report for the 929X or 935X. There's also a monthly program activity report to go along with direct placement or monthly?
Monthly placement activity report is for direct placement.
Okay, so
monthly report.
As a monthly report for direct placement. Okay. And then every provider must maintain signed hard copies in case there is a program review. The district offices don't need the program electronic copy signed. This is for job placement. For month 1, you would submit the placement services report form. Months 2, 3, and 4, submit the VRMPAR placement activity monthly report form.
Right, that's submitted through intake through placement.
Intake.
It's to report on the job development.
Okay. Again, when you're submitting the final report for 929X or 935X, you must also include the resume file in the same container. Okay. WinZip. You can get it from winzip.com. This information may be a little outdated. I believe that WinZip is now an app within Windows 10. Our department doesn't recommend any particular program to use. This is just one that we have information on and can provide some guidance on.
So I did have one person asking if there was a specific version of WinZip. For example, WinZip 22.
I believe you can use the most current version of WinZip. Our instructions are a little outdated on that online. There's a really old version, and then I believe there's instructions for version 20. I don't have instructions for the most current version, but I believe the most current versions are able to be used as well. So basically, you're going to run WinZip, click File, and then a new archive. Now, these instructions are for an older evaluation version. I'm hoping that the newer version isn't too far off of this, but this may not be exactly what you see. Again, this was created quite a while ago, so it may be a little outdated, but we will work to get information for a more current version if we can get it from our technology department. You select a location for your zip container. What you're going to do is take all your files and create one container, one encrypted container to send all of them at once. You'll select a location to save that zip container. Enter a container file name and click OK. Example 2014-01-05. Let's say you want to send a container and date it for you're sending in your reports in February. You're doing it February 8th. You might choose 2019-02-08 and have the file ending say .sed. Our system will block it if it says .zip. Just like you have trouble getting files from us with a zip ending, our system also has trouble getting files from you with a zip ending. So to try and get around that, we ask that you change the ending to .sed so that the files will go through to that mailbox. Check the encrypt added files box. Select the files that you want to include and then click Add. You must check encrypt added files before you select and add files. If there's a caution box that comes up, click OK. Enter the password for this file. I believe it's a standardized password, and you can get that password by sending an email to vrcontracts@niced.gov. Click File and then close Archive. To email the container to the State Education Department, you would send the email to vrcontracts@nysed.gov, and then in the subject, only type in send report and then your 6-digit Access VR vendor code and attach the container. Nothing in the body of the email. If your vendor code has leading zeros, please be sure to include those leading zeros in that vendor ID. And make sure to include the spaces between send in reports and reports in your vendor ID. After you send that, then you should receive a confirming email containing a list of the reports that were sent and the status, letting you know if it was delivered successfully or if there was a failure in that item. Here's some examples of the confirmation. This one failed due to incorrect authorization number. This line was delivered, and this one failed, no match on case service code for that authorization. So that authorization did not contain the 931X case service code. So a no match on authorization number means that an authorization doesn't exist in our database. Make sure that you've used the right authorization number before trying to resubmit it. An incorrect authorization number means that that authorization number does not match an authorization created for your Access VR vendor ID. Again, please go back and make sure that you've used the right authorization number before trying to resend it. No match on the case service code, again, means that that case service code does not exist on that authorization. This is just a sample of how you may want to organize your containers. Again, please reiterate to make sure that your 929X or 935X reports come with your resume. We've had some errors popping up recently for vendors that may have sent multiple containers during the month, sent the resume separate from the container, in a separate container than their 929X report and received errors. Some of the benefits to electronic processing: you don't have to photocopy your reports and store them in paper files. You can do electronic filing. You don't have to spend money sending in the reports, and you know that they were received, and you have proof that the reports were sent and received. Then it also assists us so that the counselors get your reports almost immediately. They don't have to sit in a mailroom and then get, parsed out to everybody. It gives the counselor the information in a timely manner. And it also provides confirmation to the district office that the reports were sent. Here's just some additional resources. Again, these wikis that were created will be updated as we move into this new contract term. If you get stuck and you can't find the answer, don't hesitate to reach out to your district office liaison. If they can't get you help, then they will pick the question up here to Albany, and we will try and get you the help that you need for this to get your reports through successfully. And that's it. So we'll take a quick look for some questions.
So just, I'm actually going to read them back. The most recent is probably what you just covered. Before we listed the individuals that the reports were in reference to in the body of the email, now you say that to leave the body blank, you do not want them listed?
The VR contracts mailbox reads the subject line and takes the container and splits it out based on the subject line of your email and the information in that container. I don't believe it reads anything in the body of the message.
Then there was some feedback that the latest WinZip version is 23 and it works with the system.
Okay, great. So 23, we'll take a look to see if we can get our instructions updated to include WinZip 23.
Okay. Another comment here, a question is, how are paycheck stubs submitted when required as for the wage bonus report?
They should actually be attached to the report form and submitted that way. So it'll be one file. There won't be a different naming convention for that.
Right, so it'll be another page in your report form. So like in 932X, is that the one? Or 933X? It would be one page included in that report form, in that file.
Right, so for
not
example,
separate.
they could scan the actual 933X and scan it with the wage document or the letter of verification and submit it as a PDF, or they can merge the document electronically and submit it as
a point of clarification, I believe. So the monthly reports will all be MPAR, no longer MSPE.
The MPAR is for direct placement. The MPSE is for supported employment. There are the monthly reports for both.
And then another comment was that many vendors have moved away from paper files for years. OMIG does not even require signed ink paper. Would a scan of a signed document be acceptable?
For the report, scanned signatures are okay. I believe the original signature should be maintained in the record for the provider.
Right. To add to that, the billing form, the VR370 form, the claim for payment form, the support employment, extended services rosters, and your group orientation, all of that still is paper. Our case management system and our payment system hasn't moved along to a point where we can take electronic invoicing for that yet. That's not to say it won't change during the contract term. We are working towards updating where we can and moving our systems forward. However, at this time, we still have to receive the billing document, the VR370, and the claim for payment forms with original signature. Okay.
More? No. Okay. Where does one get a password to use the encryption bins in order to send that information?
So you'll send an email requesting that to the vrcontracts@niced.gov mailbox.
And another person is asking, when will new authorizations be out for cases transitioning into the new contract?
So as the contracts are moving through the approval process, staff have been working with lists of authorizations that needed to be rolled over into the new contract term. They're reviewing the cases and have lists of some services that had been provided through around November 8th, the authorizations that were created through them. They're reviewing them to see if they need to continue into the new contract term. And those authorizations will be created once we hit certain milestones with the contract approval process. So some vendors may be starting to receive authorizations based on where their contract is in the approval process. New vendors, the contract needs to be fully approved and executed through the State Comptroller's Office before any authorizations can be issued for services starting January 1st. Again, the new authorization for the new contract term has to be in hand before services can be provided. Without that authorization, you run the risk of not being paid for the service. So it is very important that you return your contract documents ASAP if you haven't done so already. If you're not sure and you wouldn't be the person signing the contract document, check with your executive director, your the program director for, let's say, support employment, or whoever may have submitted the application for CRS to make sure that that document has come back to SCD signed with all of the appropriate documentation. We are working very diligently to try and get everyone's contract through the process and fully approved before January 1st. We do have some contracts that are now fully approved, so everything that you can do, if you receive an email from the CRS2 mailbox requesting documentation such as workers' comp and disability forms or updated vendor responsibility, please be sure to act on those emails as quickly as possible so that we can continue moving your contract through the approval process. If you have any questions about whether it has been received, don't hesitate to reach out and send an email to the CRS2 mailbox. We have copies of the contract emails. We can quickly get you another copy of that email out. If we may have an outdated email contact. If you have recently had a change in executive staff, we may have an outdated contact that we've sent that email with the contract documents to. So please reach out to us with updated contact information, and we can make sure that that gets sent out ASAP. We've been turning them around the same day when we have multiple people monitoring our mailbox to try and get this information taken care of quickly.
Another question is, do written reports such as 572X, 573X, et cetera, get zipped and sent electronically to Albany? If so, would that be in a separate zip file?
You could send every report for every service that is provided during the month in one container. Or you could choose on a given day to send reports that you've completed, let's say, for services provided in the first half of the month. You don't have to wait till the billing deadline to send in those reports. You could send in those completed reports after you're done with them. It's just that every report, the report for every service that you bill on the VR370 report must be received by the 15th of the month following the provision of service, just like the VR370 report. Those program reports and the VR370 reports and the quarterly bills are all due by the 15th of the month. So it's up to you how you want to pace that work. Some people send in multiple containers per month as they finish the reports. Some may send one email container right as they're sending in their VR370 report. Okay.
You mentioned that one of the benefits of electronic reporting are that VR counselors receive information almost immediately. I missed how we will send this information to the VR counselor. Typically, we print and send via email the original to the VR and the original to the VR counselor.
Okay, so the original reports shouldn't be sent directly to the counselor. All of the reports must be encrypted and sent via this process that we've set up to the VR contract at NYSED.gov mailbox. Behind the scenes within that email system is a program that runs and scans the subject lines and takes the containers contained in those emails and separates out all the files and sends them to the counselor's email box so that they receive it as soon as that container is unpacked by our system. So there's no, if you send it directly to the counselor, A, it might not be properly encrypted. B, our finance staff also have access to a system to allow them to see which reports have been received. So as they're reviewing your VR370 report, they go into a system to see that those reports were received. If it's sent directly to a counselor, they can't see that. So it also assists our finance staff as they're processing your billing. So please do not send the reports directly to the counselor. Please use this encryption and container system and only send the reports to the VR contract at NYSED.gov mailbox.
I just want to clarify that that's actually for the finalized form that's going to be billed on. The VRC might want to see the report and approve the report because there's different stages. So communicating and sharing information with the VRC can happen, but to actually bill on the report, it has to be submitted through this electronic system.
All right, thanks for that. Okay.
Just to make sure about the new job preparation, pre-employment services, example 123X and 125X. I do not see the new pre-employment service report forms. Are they posting in the near future as you update the Access website?
Yeah. So the new report forms will all be put up on our website prior to the start of the new contract. So they are not up there today, but they should be up over the next few weeks.
The PowerPoint will be made available as well as the recorded presentations. So all of this stuff will be found on the
CRS webpage.
So yeah, so it will all be on the CRS webpage. We are updating this website. Right now, the new contract information is not up there, but it will be soon. So right now, we still have training from 2013 posted up there for the current CRS contracts that end this month. We will be doing the same type of thing. We will be posting this training there. It will replace the old information. And the plan is to keep it up there for the term of the contract so that if you have staff changes and you want to refer them to this later on, it will be there. Okay. Okay, so that takes us to the end of our training. I want to thank you for your time. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email at crs2.nysed.gov. And you can also contact your district offices for information within their offices. Thank you.